how do we live as Christians in an age where there is so much fear and anxiety? How do we fortify ourselves as believers to be able to endure the stigma that is going to come from Christian faithfulness in our generation? The simplest yet most profound answer to that question is by love. Love casts out fear. When I think back to the Apostle Peter and his instructions to the early church, the Apostle Peter calls the early Christians exiles and sojourners. But even before he gives them that title, he addresses them with this one word, beloved. Some translations would say loved ones. And that word has so much meaning. First, it refers to the fact that we are beloved children of God. We are in a family. We are beloved as brothers and sisters in Christ. And so the first thing that helps us understand is that if we're going to be faithful as exiles and sojourners in this world, then we need to recognize that we are beloved together with the community of God's people. We are not Lone Ranger Christians. We are not lone individuals standing up against the world. No, we have a church behind us. We stand in a long line of saints for 2,000 years who have been faithful to Christ. We are not alone in this. And so one of the first things that reminds us of is the love of God's people, the love of the family of God. The last thing we need is for Christians to adopt this sort of run for the hills mentality like Elijah after the showdown with the prophets of Baal at Mount Carmel. Elijah, here he was thinking that he was all alone, and yet God reminded him that there were many who had not yet bowed the knee to Baal. And the same thing is true of us today. So on the one hand, we're beloved people of God who are part of a family. But on the other hand, this reminds us that we are beloved of God, that God the Father loves us. And notice that it says beloved, and then the Apostle Peter addresses us as exiles and sojourners, as if to say that being an exile or being a sojourner is not at odds with being beloved by God. So one of the first things that we have to do is to come back again and again to this truth that we are beloved by God, that God the Father has loved us in Jesus Christ. And the reason this is so important is this: we will not represent Christ well in a season of exile unless we are totally immersed in this truth that God the Father loves us. The only way that we will be able to live without the approval of others is if we know that we have the approval of God in Christ Jesus. The only way that we can withstand the hatred of the world is if we are immersed in the love of God. The only way that we can withstand the jeers of the world around us is if we know that God and all of his people throughout all the ages are cheering us on as he calls us his beloved children. Unless we are overcome by the love of God, we will be overcome by the fear of man. So those two things will help fortify our faith as we move forward. The Christian community as an oasis of faith, hope, and love, and then the inexhaustible fountain of God's love that we have through the cross of Jesus Christ. Perfect love casts out fear.